If you've built up a successful business and secure life for your family in the UK, why would you want to do it all over again on the other side of the world? One family is convinced it's a risk worth taking. Andy and Hannah Sharp are desperate for a more rural lifestyle in New Zealand.
If we could achieve complete self-sufficiency, that would be like winning the lottery for us. This is why we want to move to New Zealand.
But the grass isn't always greener on the other side.
If we do this, I'll be working even harder than I've ever done before.
It's quite depressing.
We'd actually be going back a step, really. They've got everything that I hate about Leicester here.
And they face some harsh realities as their dream of country living is put to the test.
It becomes a full-time job just to survive.
Will they risk everything to move to New Zealand?
It's a huge decision, and without a doubt it's the biggest decision we will ever make.
To move from one side of the world to the other, move the family, move the home, frightening.
New Zealand is a similar size to the UK, but with a population 15 times less, the open spaces and relaxed atmosphere attracts immigrants from all over the world. But leaving everything you know behind to start a new life can be a lot harder than many people expect. We're giving the Sharp family a trial week to test out a completely new life in New Zealand. At the end of it, they'll have to decide whether to stay in the UK or to move down under. Andy, who's 46, and Hannah Sharp live in Leicester with their children, Leo and Seb. They set up their own business in industrial cleaning equipment 6 years ago, and although it's proving successful, it's been far from easy.
When I get back home is never when I've told the wife. If I tell her 6 o'clock, it might be 10.
He works around the clock, don't see that much of him, and we snatch maybe the odd hour or two of a weekend, if we're lucky, to spend time together as a family.
But it's not just Andy who's rushed off his feet. At home, Hannah has to juggle helping to run the company with being a full-time mum.
Yeah, life's pretty hectic. I do all of the accounts, bookkeeping and finances. Fitting that in around the boys is pretty hard, so I don't stop for a second.
Andy hopes that New Zealand will offer better opportunities for his family.
Overriding contributing factors for me are my 2 children. I want them to have the best possible starts that they can have. We get confined winter time, especially with the kids now, and they love the outdoor life as well. Leo's pretty much been trapped inside the house for the last couple of months. Better quality life for me, working less hours and in a reasonable wage still. Don't have to be rolling in money, but it is quality of life that I'm looking for.
Hannah and Andy aren't just looking for a change of scenery, but a totally new way of life.
If we could have a plot of land and have our own animals that we could rear, grow our own fruit and veg, we'd be in heaven. That to us would be everything.
Self-sufficiency actually is quite a serious thing, and I hope it's not a pipe dream.
Living off the land and spending more time together are great ambitions, but for Hannah it would mean leaving the support of her close family behind.
I see my mum the most out of all of them, really. She helps out with the kids quite a lot, and if Andy's working all weekend, I'll go over there and spend a lot of time with her. And it's no doubt, it's a wrench, and I actually don't think you realise how hard that would be until you do it.
And there's another consideration.
My horse Lily, I've had her all her life, and she is part of the family. I always vowed I'd never sell her or anything like that, and the idea would be to take her to New Zealand with us.
Hannah is in no doubt about how serious their decision will be.
We can't make the wrong decision, really. It's got to be right. To come home to nothing and start again from scratch would be... I don't even want to think about it, really.
A daunting decision lies ahead of them. Can New Zealand offer the space and seclusion they need to get their dream of self-sufficiency off the ground? As a country famous for its large open spaces, there are a variety of different areas that may suit the Sharps' particular needs. New Plymouth on the west coast of North Island is set between the sea and snow-capped mountains. It's rural enough to offer the land they will need for self-sufficiency, but work opportunities for a specialist engineer like Andy could be limited. If they go where the work is, they could try Auckland, New Zealand's largest city. But property is expensive, with average house prices at around £245,000, meaning the Sharps may not be able to afford enough land, even on the outskirts, for what they need. The area around Christchurch on South Island is known for its agriculture, so it could be the place for the Sharps to start out. It's more affordable and relaxed than Auckland, with average house prices at around only £170,000, but perhaps large enough to offer Andy some work. Getting the right balance between employment, reasonable commute times and affordable land are all key considerations for Hannah and Andy. We decided to send the Sharps to Christchurch, where there's a possibility of work for Andy and also the space for a self-sufficient lifestyle. The Sharps are planning a huge change in their way of life, but finding a property that fits the bill won't be easy.
I'd rather live in a caravan. It's quite depressing, really.
There's a chance the whole plan will stretch their finances to breaking point.
We're down £1,500 a month.
And facing up to the stark reality of life on the land could leave their dreams in tatters.
It's not just a part-time lifestyle job, it becomes a full-time job, really just to survive.
Hannah and Andy are in search of a better life down under, but they only have a week to make this life-changing decision. After a gruelling 12,500-mile journey and 4 flights, they arrive on the other side of the world. But how have they coped?
Oh, no. It's been a nightmare. It certainly felt more like 4 days rather than 20-odd hours.
You go through so many time zones. I didn't know what day it was in the end, and it feels like we've been travelling forever.
The distance has obviously taken its toll on Andy and Hannah, bringing home just how far away they would be from family and friends.
I don't think I'd want to do that back to the UK on a regular basis.
We wouldn't be doing it. We couldn't afford to be doing it that often, I suppose. I don't know, really. It's hard to know, but it wouldn't be every year, put it that way.
For their week's trial in New Zealand, the Sharps will be staying in a 2-bedroom cottage in the rural suburb of Ohoka. Set on 10 acres of farmland, it should give them a good sense of country living, but with only a 40-minute drive to the city. It's a great base to explore everything that Christchurch has to offer.
Yeah, very nice. Very new, isn't it? Very modern.
It's nice. I do like the cooker. It's nice.
It's quite a decent size as well,
nice
isn't it?
area. Kids can play around.
It has a good-sized open-plan living area for a small family, but something else has caught Leo's eye.
Oh, treasure, yeah.
Oh, what have you seen, mate? What have you seen? Is it something that'll make you jump? Oh, no treasure in there at the moment. We'll have to put some in.
It's not long before Hannah spots some familiar neighbours.
Yeah, horses.
Run round on that bit of grass. Oh, this room. What? Did you want this?
Oh, is this yours, is
this
it?
one yours?
Oh, you've picked the best bed then, haven't you? That's not bad for you, is it?
Excellent. Oh, hopefully the rest of New Zealand's like this. Peaceful.
The Sharps are impressed with the open space, which is all part of the dream. But it's brought to mind some recent sad news.
Well, Lily's actually passed away recently. You know, in my mind, I was always thinking of having her over here with us. And it's hard to imagine without getting upset now, but it's hard to imagine having another horse here, not her. Obviously just wasn't meant to be, really.
It's clearly devastating and could cast a shadow over the whole week. Back in the UK, the Sharps live in this 2-bedroom semi-detached house on a new estate in the suburbs of Leicester, and they think it's worth around £120,000. It's a far cry from their dream of rural living, so in New Zealand they're looking for the space to keep a few animals and grow some of their own food, if they can afford it.
We don't need a big house, we want land actually, that's what we want. We want a big piece of land and a little house. And again, in the UK, there's not much land around. We have looked, we have tried to buy land in the past here.
The Sharps will need a lot of space if they want to live off the land, and Christchurch has a number of possible options within their budget. If you're looking for open space and lots of land, the answer could be a country location like West Ayrton. The surroundings are stunning, but house prices aren't as cheap as you might think. This two-bedroom home has 10 acres to play with and costs around £300,000, out of the Sharps' budget for now. There would also be a 45-minute commute to central Christchurch to consider. Although the city suburbs don't offer the kind of space the Sharps really want, they would drastically cut Andy's commute to work. Houses such as this 3-bedroom, 2-bathroom property in the suburb of New Brighton are 10 minutes drive from the city centre and cost around £140,000, close to their budget. But the lack of land would mean the Sharps would have to postpone their dream of self-sufficiency. By the coast, the Sharps could get more land than in the city. The views are fantastic, but they come at a price. This artist's retreat bungalow in Sumner probably has just enough land for growing vegetables. It does have 4 bedrooms, but at £225,000 it would be pushing the Sharps' budget. As the Sharps want enough land to live self-sufficiently and Hannah needs the space for horses, we're going to show them properties in the country. Property number 1 is in the Ohoka area and is on the market for £155,000. This 3-bedroom property is basic, but its 2.5 acres of land includes a vegetable garden. And being only 30 minutes from the city means Andy could commute to work.
So that's the living room then. It looked like it was a garage from outside. The wall is a garage door.
It may not look much, but the Sharps' tight budget means that to find enough land, they may have to compromise on the house itself.
It's very dark.
It's very, very dark, actually.
Dingy, almost.
There is an odour as well.
Yeah, I was just going to say, can you smell damp, almost?
Not a good start. Maybe country living on their budget just isn't possible.
There's a nice big window. I found something positive at last about the place. Well, this is actually a bit more inviting, but there's no storage for all our clothes and stuff.
It's a holiday chalet stroke porta cabin, really.
Despite Hannah saying a small house would do, this one seems too small. The question is, can the land outside make up for it?
It's very low, so there's no view to look at, really. Basically, there's not really enough to do what we want to do, and we don't want to move all this way to do half of what we want to do we?
No. We may as well struggle in the UK and earn more money and buy a pricey bit of land, which we know we could do without 3/4 of the way around the world jaunt.
Yeah. It's quite depressing, really. I'd rather live in a caravan than in there.
But probably the caravan's got more features than that.
They're obviously disappointed, and if they can't find the right property, it would be the end of their New Zealand dream. Perhaps the next house will be more suitable.
Got some sand in.
Property number 2 is in the Airwell countryside, over an hour from the city centre. Living here, Andy would spend a lot more time and money travelling to work, spelling the end of his dream of spending more time at home with the family. This 2-bedroom, 1-bathroom cottage comes with a sleep-out area, 2 barns and 10 acres of land. At £180,000, it would stretch the Sharps' budget.
That's nice. The only thing is that I would relocate that wood store stroke garage, so you've got a view rather than looking into the wood pile.
So kitchen. I mean, it's not big, but it's inviting, isn't it? And the views, you know, I mean, look at that. I wouldn't mind standing there washing up and looking out at that.
What I instantly like about this is the big open expanse of glass. Yeah, that's a slider, yeah.
Yeah, so that's nice.
Bathroom. Oh, utility room as well, so...
Yeah, that's all right.
The inside is an improvement, but it hasn't wowed them. What about the outside?
And this is, I suppose, your front stroke back garden, isn't it? This is, which is quite a substantial size. It's a lot bigger than what we've got. Put it that way.
There's more to this property than just a big garden. To be truly self-sufficient and live entirely off your land, you need around 10 acres. So they really could live their dream here, if they can afford it. And there's one more surprise.
And so we've got this field as well. That is seriously good. We were pretty depressed, really, after the last house, weren't we?
Yeah, it did make it look like it was out of our grasp.
For a long time.
Yeah, we don't want to be waiting 3 or 4 more years to actually try and
do it.
Raise extra money to get out here, whereas this is achievable.
This is achievable, you'd have to work a bit harder. This is why we want to move to New Zealand.
The house may have been a bit basic, but the land seemed to more than make up for it. Maybe the last property will appeal to them inside and out. Property number 3 is located in the remote rural suburb of Broomfield. It would still mean a lengthy commute to the city, but its 18 acres of land will surely impress the Sharps. This 4-bedroom, 2-bathroom house is on the market for £200,000, so it would be pushing the budget. This time they're starting their tour outside.
There's so much scope, yeah.
Just about everything they can see belongs to the property, including several fields and 7 acres of pine forest. If they could afford something like this, it really would be a dream come true. But what about the accommodation?
Oh, nice.
Oh, right. I wasn't expecting that.
Well, look at that for a fire.
Yeah, no, that's very nice, very homely. Yeah. There's your kitchen.
I like that window.
Yeah.
That's a really nice feature, that is.
I actually feel at home.
They seem impressed so far, and Leo's making himself at home.
Yes!
Wow, look at that!
Yeah!
Isn't that good?
It's like a big bedroom, isn't it? It's quite unusual then. I wasn't expecting a bedroom when we came through there. I wonder if all the bedrooms are on the ground floor.
Wow.
Sliding doors would be nice there.
To wake up and have that view every morning.
Yeah.
Superb.
I wonder where the nearest neighbour is, because I haven't seen a house for miles. And I mean, you've got all this space as well, you know.
There's a gym in the making.
A gym.
Straight out of bed and into a workout.
For the money, I think it's very good value.
And we've come over looking for a piece of land. It just happens that this lovely piece of land that we've been shown has actually got potentials of a very nice home.
We potentially
for a
would
family
need to
to grow in.
move away from here, yeah.
Yeah.
It would have everything to last us.
We've shown the Sharps 3 properties around Christchurch. Property 1 was within their budget at £155,000. It had a large garden and vegetable plot, but the house felt more like a holiday chalet to Andy. Property 2 was a little more expensive at £180,000, but despite being quite basic and small inside, the land and outbuildings were perfect for Hannah and Andy's long-term dream. Property 3 was the most expensive at £200,000 and a little over budget, but it seemed to tick all the boxes. However, its attractive setting was a long way away from work in the city. So which way will they vote? For property in New Zealand or back home in the UK?
Based on the properties we've seen today, our vote is New Zealand. Bit shocked at property 1, but 2 and 3 kind of made us realise that it is obtainable. But I think more so the reason for me is because there is more land available. Even if you've got to pay the same as you'd pay in the UK, there's more properties with land.
After initial disappointment, there's lots of optimism, and Hannah seems convinced they can make this move work. This week in New Zealand is crucial to the Sharp family. Andy and Hannah are convinced this is the place to start a new life and a move towards self-sufficiency. But will they be able to afford it?
Well, I think early month we're going to be in a negative. That's a massive difference there.
And they both have to face up to the reaction of the family they'll leave behind.
I just can't possibly put into words what I would feel.
It tears me apart thinking about what would happen.
The Sharps' desire for self-sufficiency doesn't mean that Andy won't need to find a job if they move to New Zealand. And although he's self-employed back in Leicester, he won't be able to run his own business in Christchurch for 2 years. Is he ready to work for someone else after being his own boss for so long? Back in the UK, Andy takes home around £23,500 a year from his business selling and servicing cleaning machines. If he can't earn enough in New Zealand, their dream will be in tatters.
We would be really struggling, and it would be to a detriment of the children. That would be a kibosh on the whole thing.
On the other side of the world, Andy is up early to sample work in Christchurch, and he's under no illusions about how important this is.
The concern would be making sure that there was a consistent wage coming in. It's going to be the hardest thing we've ever done. Under no illusions about that. We are going to have to juggle family, business and move all in one. I could take the easy way out and stay in England with a good business.
With so much riding on Andy's work, it's vital the day goes well.
Oh, there.
Yeah, Quentin, right.
Andrew Sharp, pleased to meet you. Yes, yes, please. Yes, thank you.
This is a cross-section of the stuff we sell.
That, I don't know if it's a 601. It's looking familiar. With black and yellow.
After a brief tour of the facilities with company owner Quentin, it's time for Andy to get his hands dirty. He'll be working under the watchful eye of Chief Engineer Oscar.
The pump head here has a crack, so what you'll be wanting to do is run it up, find out where the leak is, and work out just what parts you're going to have to replace.
Okay.
There you go, she's all yours.
Thank you very much.
There's nothing here that Andy hasn't seen before, so he should know what he's doing. But how will he cope working under instruction? With Andy working all hours of the day to build their business, Hannah has to juggle looking after the children with running the company books. Today, while Andy's at work, she's taking advantage of a break from the paperwork and taking Leo and Seb to a local wildlife park. Hannah knows it will be a major decision for Andy to give up the business he spent years building up to go and work for someone else. Their whole future could depend on his first impressions of work prospects in New Zealand.
Andy coming over here and working for somebody else is going to be strange. It's been a little while since he's done that. In some ways, he'd welcome it because he can have more structure in that he'll have a start time and finish time. But there's no doubt that it's obviously going to be a big change for him.
Back in the UK, a lot of the money generated by the business is reinvested, and Andy takes home around £23,500 a year. But how much can he earn here?
As an engineer, what sort of wages do they command in your industry over here?
We're looking somewhere between 50 and 60,000 New Zealand dollars.
That could be £6,000 more at the current exchange rate than he takes home in the UK.
Working hours, what do we expect to see on an average sort of week for an engineer?
So working 8 to 5, half an hour for lunch, 5 days a week, and very, very minimal call-outs over that.
Road system for engineers on call, do you operate that system?
Oh, we do. We've only got one guy on call, and he's quite happy to do that.
Right, okay.
It's not a big part of the business, really.
But is there a job?
Are there any jobs that may be going either now or in the future?
Not at this stage, with the economic climate and the staff I've got. I don't see it happening. But your qualifications are the type of qualifications I'll be looking for if the job does become available. At this stage, there's nothing.
I understand that, yep. Okay, thank you. Okay, thank you for your time. Good to meet you.
It's a pleasure.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Andy has a good business in the UK, and as yet there's nothing on the table in Christchurch. So how has this affected his view of work in New Zealand? It's time to vote.
On the basis of what I've seen today, my vote goes to New Zealand. It would be a luxury to work those hours, to be perfectly honest. Not even half we do at present. I might actually enjoy it enough that I got the quality of life and an adequate wage where I say, well, actually, family and friends are more important. Who knows?
The lack of a job at the moment hasn't dented Andy's enthusiasm for working in New Zealand. Perhaps it's because he has a plan.
I'd be looking to end up working back for myself again. There is business there, and it's very familiar business. Where there is business, there's usually competition, and where there's competition, there's usually openings for other competitors, new businesses to move in.
Andy certainly has the ambition to succeed, but he hasn't really addressed the fact that he has to work for someone else for 2 years before he can go it alone. And if there are no jobs to be had, then the move won't happen. After some initial disappointments, the Sharps eventually found their ideal home.
This is why we want to move to New Zealand.
But despite putting on a brave face, Andy has discovered that work is scarce and could jeopardise the entire move.
At this stage, there's nothing.
Later, the Sharps find out how tough self-sufficiency really is.
It's not just a part-time lifestyle job, it becomes a full-time job, really just to survive.
And they are forced to consider the loved ones they would be leaving behind.
I just can't possibly put into words what I would feel.
Will the Sharps be won over by the rural life, or will a move to New Zealand be too much of a struggle? Andy is convinced he can earn a living in New Zealand. But if they're going to afford the property they really want, they need to get a good price for their house back in the UK. Back home, the Sharps own this 2-bedroom house in Leicester that they think is worth £120,000. But what do the experts think? We've sent around some local estate agents to give them an up-to-date valuation.
Well, we've got a delightful contemporary stylish fireplace and a wraparound staircase rising to the first floor. A little bit rough around the edges. We've got detailing down here which shows that it needs a little bit of repair.
Oh, very nice kitchen. Very bright as well, which is good. This definitely adds to sellability, this stuff.
Should hope so, it cost enough.
Very good.
This is where it was a mess.
The remnants from bonfire night.
Okay. Master bedroom. No built-in wardrobes, but we do have plenty of storage space. Reasonably sized, second bedroom. Obviously a family home. And quite a nice view out over the rear garden. Yeah, it's a very nice, well-presented 2-bedroom property. Certainly on the outside, it delivers with curb appeal. My opinion would be to market the property initially in the region of a guide price of £115,000. However, for a quick sale, I would think that by marketing at offers in excess of £105,000, we'll certainly get buyers through the door and offers on the table.
I would advise a market valuation on the property of being 104,950. And I would advise a quick sale valuation of the property for 99,950.
So, it's always better than we thought.
Yeah.
For the market, as it is.
For the time as well.
Well, despite their house being valued at £15,000 less than they'd hoped, Andy and Hannah are putting on a brave face. They have a big ambition, but can they afford it? We've prepared a list of living costs so they can assess if they'll be better or worse off in New Zealand.
First of all, there's this healthcare issue, and it's private over here, so we're talking £111 per month.
Fuel costs, 831. That's a massive difference there. Right, what else is there? Mortgage payments. That's like double.
Yeah.
And then at home, that's a big chunk of money, isn't it?
It is double.
Every month. So a month we get £3,073 to play with at home. In New Zealand, half of that essentially. We're down 1,500 quid a month. Right, well I think on a month I think we're going to be in a negative. Yeah. We need to earn another £1,000 a month.
Yeah. I mean, it looks bad on paper, but it's still, without sounding like some of this, just glass is always half full. It is manageable.
Here, we're basing this on, because we wouldn't have our own business, I wouldn't be working, so we've lost an income.
We'd struggle through until the kids were basically in some form of schooling, and then you'd work.
It's essential, long term, would be to work for ourselves out here. It's the only way we could do it.
They knew their dream was ambitious, but they had no idea it would cost this much. Hannah would need to work full-time just for them to survive, and then they'd be right back where they started, all work and no time together. Is this move out of their reach? It's time to vote.
Based on the costs that we've seen today, our vote is UK. Because we're looking at a rural location, really, that's what's making the costs more expensive.
And it's costs we haven't really ever incurred.
I mean, that's nearly £1,000 alone a month in just commuting back and forth.
Oh, their dream of living off the land is more expensive than they thought and might be out of reach. So what would self-sufficient living actually entail? There's quite a trend towards living closer to the land. And although Hannah and Andy are probably not going to turn into farmers as soon as they reach New Zealand, they want to keep some animals and grow as much of their own food as possible. So we've taken them to a farm park on the outskirts of Christchurch to meet local farmer Zane and to find out what they might realistically achieve.
All right, if you would like to follow me, we'll go through and we'll do some cow milking, eh? Tremendous. OK, so the whole idea is to be able to try and milk her without her going to the toilet on us.
Yeah.
What we're going to do is get this bucket nice and centrally located. It's just a matter of pulling down and squeezing on those teats. What we're doing is replicating exactly how the calf would feed off this cow.
That looks like it takes some practice. How will Andy get on?
Pull down and squeeze on that teat.
Sorry, madam. That's surprisingly difficult to actually achieve.
This may seem like fun now, but if they were to make the move, their dream would depend on getting these skills quickly.
There you go, well done. Oh, you're a natural.
How long would it take you normally to fully milk a cow?
If you were hand milking her out by hand and you're good at it, 10 to 12 minutes to fully hand milk out a cow. And a girl like this, you'd probably get maybe 12 to 15 litres off her if you were to milk her all the way out.
So, time for the taste test.
There's our glass of milk, nice and fresh off the cow. Who's up for a try? All right.
Very nice.
Does it taste much different?
It's obviously still a little bit warm, but it's nice.
But it tastes just like milk.
This is the lamb we're going to share. It's about 7 months old.
Right, I'll keep it the other way. Whoa. Sorry about that, kid. Not as close as my haircut.
Andy and Hannah have dreamt of being fully self-sufficient, and today's farm visit should give them a glimpse of what it would be like looking after livestock and producing their own food. It's certainly hard work, but they look like they're enjoying themselves. But if this lifestyle is going to become a reality, they would have a lot to learn, and Hannah has some important questions for Zane.
Do you have any idea, roughly, how much land you think you'd need to be sort of fully self-sufficient?
It's not just going to happen on 1 acre of land. If you want to have 2 or 3 sheep, and then all your vegetables, your milking cow, you might even need about 10 acres of land. And then it's relative to where you buy as to whether you'll have to irrigate. This is quite a dry region.
There are a lot of things to think about if you're considering such a massive lifestyle change, and Zane has some words of warning.
It's not just a part-time lifestyle job, it becomes a full-time job, really just to survive. So there's a lot of work and a lot of effort goes into it. And a lot of people that have the desire to be self-sufficient and live on a lifestyle property certainly find that they need a good amount of land and typically another job as well. So they end up sort of working 2 jobs for 1 pay.
Perhaps not the news the Sharps were looking for. It may have been their ambition to live off the land, but after a day on the farm, do they think they could make it work?
Based on what we've seen about the self-sufficient lifestyle, our vote goes to New Zealand.
UK.
Leo may not agree with Andy, but this is a serious setback. The fact that their dream lifestyle may be unachievable could end their hopes of a move down under.
Regarding running a business and being self-sufficient, I think the answer is no. It's not, as the gentleman explained regarding the agricultural side around here, it's a full-time job. You don't play at it, you live it. This decision would be the biggest of our life, really. To move and take the risk, there's no guarantees.
It's been a long week for the Sharps, and their dream is hanging in the balance. But it's about to get tougher. We've recorded some messages from their friends and family back home to see if they really can face leaving them behind.
Hi Hannah, Andy, Leo, Seb. Hi Hannah and everyone out there.
Hi Hannah and Andy.
Hannah is very independent, headstrong, and a loving mum. But, you know, she's only got good things to say about people. And
she's sort of very strong in her ways, I know. Once they make their mind up, you know, that is it. And Andy, her husband, is exactly the same. I mean, they only want what's best for the children.
So he's always been a hard worker. He is. He's done extremely well with this, you know, this business. And he's always worked very hard to get what he wants.
At the minute, I don't think I really believe that I will be saying goodbye to them. You know, it seems like something that other people do, not necessarily your sister, that will be going away. But I can't imagine how hard it will be. I mean, I just can't possibly put into words, you know, what I would feel.
It came as a bit of a shock. He didn't tell us until a few weeks ago. It's his life, so he's got to do what he wants, which is best for him and his children. I shall miss them.
I shall obviously miss Hannah and the boys. We'll miss seeing them grow up and being part of their lives.
Seeing the kids going up and fishing. I mean, sometimes he'll just bomb down in the van and he'll have Leo there in the front with him. It's just a treat to see his face, you know, smiling through the window.
I don't think that you can have a strong family, a close family, as it would be in England if you're the other side of the world.
I live on my own and, you know, the thought of losing another member of family, just not to be able to see them, you know, when you want to go and see them. I mean, at the minute, if I do feel on a low ebb, I can just nip over to Leicester and see them. You know, they're only a phone call away. But it's not the same as being able to get a hug.
I hope you do well. I hope everything goes okay for you and the children.
We will all be very sad if you decide that New Zealand is the place for you, but we will be behind you if that's your decision.
Good luck. Love you all to bits and wish you all the luck in the world.
wish you all the best. Hope you get on okay. Love you. Bye.
Your mummy's very affected by it. She's more than she's let on to us.
I actually am feeling more emotions, not from me, but from my children and the grandparents, because the wrench, I think it'd be horrific, to be perfectly honest.
I mean, Leo does, he loves them,
own.
doesn't he? He does.
Yeah.
He asks for them and...
Yeah. And the thing is, as time goes on, it'll get worse. I'm not making light of it. It tears me apart thinking about what would happen, how it would affect the children, well, their grandchildren, our children.
If they decide to make the move to New Zealand, leaving loved ones behind will be hard. But Andy is also thinking of Leo and Seb's future.
I'm genuinely thinking of my children, because if we do this, I'll be working even harder than I've ever done before, because I'm probably going to be on a lesser of a wage and having to make up the differences, probably doing a second job. I could quite easily do the easiest thing and earn more money, living back in the UK, and have a nice lifestyle.
It's never easy. Andy and Hannah have a huge decision to make. Andy and Hannah Sharp have a successful but hectic life in Leicester and came to New Zealand in the hope of living close to the land and having more time together as a family.
He works around the clock and we snatch maybe the odd hour or two of a weekend, if we're lucky, to spend time together as a family.
They were convinced they'd found the sort of place they wanted to live in, but then discovered that it might be beyond their reach.
To set yourself up to have a good lifestyle out here, you know, you need quite a bit of money, really. That's become apparent. And we don't want to come over here to struggle.
Despite poor work prospects, Andy was convinced he could earn a living, but they had a reality check about being self-sufficient.
The agricultural side around here, it's a full-time job. You don't play at it, you live it.
And the costs came as a shock.
Mortgage payments, that's like double.
Yeah.
We're down 1,500 quid.
Giving up a stable life at home to follow their dream was never going to be an easy choice.
It's a huge decision, the hardest one certainly I've ever had to make so far in my life.
They had such high ambitions, but the reality was not all they expected. It's a huge decision. Will Andy and Hannah risk everything to pursue their dream?
We've been now here for a week. Our vote goes to...
New Zealand!
New Zealand!
New Zealand!
Certainly from what we've seen, I do believe that what we thought about was the right thing for the children actually in reality will be.
Well, despite the high costs, the Sharps have made the brave decision to move to New Zealand. It's not going to be easy, and self-sufficiency may be out of their reach, but we wish them all the very best of luck. Join us again next time when we catch up with another British family who are wanted down under.
They're back and doing their bit for Britain, The Land Girls. New drama this afternoon at 2:15. But next this morning on BBC One, a cottage on the Orkney Islands is among the homes under the hammer.